Let's take a fascinating journey back in time. The year is 1947. Just 2 years after World War II ended, the world saw rising tension between two emerging superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Cold War and space race begins. Though they fought on the same side during the war, these nations had different political systems and ideologies. This clash didn't lead to direct war, but it sparked a new kind of conflict, the Cold War. And one of its biggest battlegrounds: outer space. Both nations started developing long-range missiles, not just for defense, but also to show off their space capabilities. These intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, could travel from one continent to another. So, the country that reached space first would gain a massive military and technological edge. In 1955, the US announced its ambition to launch satellites. A few days later, the Soviet Union made a similar declaration. And by 1957, the Soviet Union took the lead by launching Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite. A month later, Sputnik 2 was launched, carrying a dog named Laika, the first living being to orbit Earth. The US responded in 1958 with Explorer 1, entering the space race seriously. And that was just the beginning. Birth of ISRO. Meanwhile in India, a visionary scientist, Drive. Vikram Sarabhai, was watching these events closely. He understood that space research wasn't just about defense or pride, but it could help solve real problems in a developing country like India. With his efforts, in 1962, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru approved India's space program. This led to the creation of INCOSPA, the Indian National Committee for Space Research. Back then, resources were limited. So much so that rocket parts were transported on bicycles, and control rooms were set up inside church buildings and even converted toilets. Yet, despite the odds, progress was rapid. In 1963, India launched its first rocket, a sounding rocket supplied by NASA, from Tumba, Kerala. 4 years later, India built its own rocket, Rohini 75, which was successfully launched in 1967. On the 15th of August 1969, the same day as India's Independence Day, INCOSPA was renamed ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. And thus, a humble beginning turned into a giant leap for the nation. ISRO's first achievements under Dr. Sarabhai's leadership, India aimed to use space science for public welfare, like weather forecasting, disaster alerts, and communication. In 1975, India launched Aryabhata, its first satellite, named after the ancient Indian mathematician and astronomer. Sadly, Dr. Sarabhai had passed away in 1971 and couldn't witness this milestone. He was succeeded by Dr. Satish Dhawan, another brilliant scientist, under whose guidance India made enormous progress. In 1980, India launched Rohini satellite using its own SLV-3 rocket, marking India's entry into the group of nations capable of launching satellites. Reaching for more communication and manned missions in 1983, ISRO collaborated with NASA to launch INSAT, a series of communication satellites which made television and weather forecasts possible across India. Then in 1984, Rakesh Sharma became the first Indian in space, traveling aboard a Soviet spacecraft. When asked how India looked from ISRO versus NASA, a unique comparison. When we think about space agencies, two major names often come up, NASA and ISRO. But how do they really compare? NASA, or the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, was established in 1958 by the United States government. It quickly became a leader in space exploration, backed by enormous funding. Today, NASA operates with a budget of around $24 billion per year. With this, NASA has accomplished extraordinary feats. like sending astronauts to the moon in the Apollo missions, developing space shuttles for reusable space travel, building advanced rovers to explore Mars, and even launching the world's most powerful telescope, James Webb, which peers deep into the universe's origins. On the other hand, ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, was founded in 1969, more than a decade later. Its annual budget is far smaller, around $1.7 billion, less than 1/10 of NASA's. But what ISRO has achieved with this budget is nothing short of extraordinary. ISRO has made a name for itself as the master of frugal innovation, achieving remarkable goals with minimum cost. Take the Mars Orbiter mission, also called Gaganyaan. Launched in 2013, it cost just $74 million, less than the budget of some Hollywood movies, like The Martian. With this mission, India became the first Asian country to reach Mars and the only nation to do so successfully on its first attempt. NASA and ISRO serve different purposes. NASA focuses on deep space exploration, high-tech space telescopes, and interplanetary missions. ISRO focuses more on Earth observation, weather monitoring, communication satellites, and missions that provide direct benefits to the people of India, like agriculture, disaster warning, and remote education. Both agencies are important. NASA pushes the boundaries of what's possible in the cosmos, while ISRO makes space technology affordable and accessible, proving that great science doesn't always need a massive budget. Upcoming Indian missions, ISRO's bold road ahead. India's space dreams are far from over. In fact, ISRO has some of its most ambitious missions lined up for the near future. Satellite emoji, Gaganyaan, this will be India's first human spaceflight mission. 3 astronauts will be sent into low Earth orbit for about 5 to 7 days. Most of the spacecraft and systems are being built indigenously, while astronaut training is being supported by Russia and France. If successful, India will become the 4th nation to send humans into space, after Russia, the US, and China. Sun emoji, Aditya L1, this mission will study the sun, especially solar flares and solar winds. Why is this important? Because solar activity can affect satellites, communication systems, and even power grids on Earth. Aditya L1 will sit at a point in space known as Lagrange point 1, where it can observe the sun without interruption. Full moon emoji, Chandrayaan-3, India's second attempt to land on the moon. The first attempt, Chandrayaan-2, successfully entered lunar orbit in 2019, but the lander crashed, due to a last-minute technical glitch. Now, ISRO is determined to try again with a stronger, upgraded lander and rover. Female sign emoji, Shukriyaan-1, a mission to explore Venus, Earth's twin planet. Venus has a dense atmosphere, acidic clouds, and surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead. ISRO plans to study the atmosphere and surface to better understand how planets evolve. What's impressive is that Shukriyaan may launch before NASA's and ESA's Venus missions, and at a much lower cost. Building construction emoji, Indian Space Station, yes, ISRO has plans to build a mini space station by 2030. This station will allow India to carry out longer human space missions, medical experiments, and space manufacturing, putting India among the elite few with permanent facilities in orbit. These missions show that India is not just catching up, but leading in its own way. From competition to collaboration, a new era in space. Space exploration started as a competition, especially during the Cold War when the USA and the Soviet Union raced to be the first on the moon.